Thank you very much for joining us. You're watching the midweek edition of your program Viewpoint on DBS Television. On Viewpoint, we talk governance, we talk politics, we talk education, we talk society, and of course, we talk about the economy. Our guest for today, we have Subiru Madina. She is a journalist, and of course, she will be giving you her viewpoint. And we have Mange Venashus, who is back by the grace of God. We thank him for health. Subiru Madina, it's a pleasure having you tonight. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, Vanessa. Good evening, Mange Venashus. Thank you for inviting me on your program Viewpoint.
Mange Venashus, it's a pleasure having you again once more with us.
Thank you, Vanessa. Good evening, and good evening to our viewers. It is a pleasure to come back, after these few days of being away from Viewpoint.
That was it. Let us get a transition, and we'll be right back for the first segment of the show. That is the yes or no question. Question number 1 is easing lockdown rules in most countries convincing now? I begin with you, Madina. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Mange Venashus, are you of the fact that easing lockdown rules in the country convincing now?
No, Vanessa is not.
He's not. No. Question number 2. Is there anything government needs to do before lifting the lockdown? Madina?
Yes.
Yes, there is something. Mange Venashus, are you of the same fact?
Yes, Vanessa, there is much.
There is much. Question number 3. Should Africans keep expecting foreign help to fight the virus? That is the COVID-19 pandemic. Subiru?
No.
No. Mange Venashus?
No, we should not.
No. And the last question for today. Can Africa still trust the World Health Organization when it comes to treating COVID-19? Mange Venashus?
No, Vanessa.
No. Subiru?
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't. So that is
a no.
A no. Thank you very much for your point of views. We'll be right back in a moment for the debate. Thank you very much for joining us back in the studio. I will begin with our guest, our journalist with us. Subiru Madina, you said yes, that easing lockdown rules in most countries is convincing now that they had existed or there exists a disease or virus that has been killing a lot of people in and out of Cameroon.
I said yes because not in Cameroon's context, but in other countries. For example, we have Kenya, we have Tanzania, and many other African countries, Nigeria as well.
Italy, France.
Italy and European countries.
Mm-hmm.
Even our neighboring Benin, they are on total lockdown. And when their president said nobody is going out, he meant his words. So I think some of these countries, their lockdowns are convincing due to the fact that when they implement a lockdown, at least they provide stuffs, maybe foodstuffs, and they try to reduce the living cost. I mean, water bills, electricity bills, and even house bills that are being reduced from the population. And for example, in Tanzania, there the president said no landlord should collect rent from his tenants.
It is prepared to pay their rent allowance for about 3 months.
Yes, and even there is this artist too, this renowned artist in Tanzania, Diamond Platinum, who said he is going to pay the rent of 500 citizens in the country. So I think it's convincing in a way, because you find most citizens or most authorities of these countries trying to assist the less or the underprivileged. So the lockdown, it's quite convincing in some countries, but not in our own country.
Mange Venashus, you completely oppose what Madina is telling us today. So what could actually push you to say no, it is not convincing enough?
Yes, when I say easing lockdown, in other way it means lifting the lockdown in some countries, which I think that it is not convincing at the moment, because when we look at the statistics that we have, you understand that we cannot ascertain that we have reached the peak of the virus, of the contamination rate in countries around the world at large, except China, that is reporting that the virus seems to have been under control. When you look at US, when you look at France, Italy, we are still, France, they are still talking of postponing, the reopening of the economy, of the society. When we talk of easing lockdown in some countries, it is not convincing, because why did we go send people into lockdown? The reason for sending people into lockdown has not, we have not solved the situation. So we cannot tell people that we are easing, and that is giving people, those who were of the opinion, when this virus started, people were of the opinion that there is no coronavirus. There were all kinds of, theses were on the air, especially on social media platforms, that this is nothing that is real, that they just want to blindfold the world and carry out some kind of introduction of 5G kind of network. This was going on. But when we have to start telling people now that we are going to lift up the lockdown for activities to resume, what has happened in the meantime? If we take the example of Cameroon, for example, if the situation in Cameroon, the rate of infection had to be reducing, we could talk of lifting we would talk of convincing people that no, we have controlled the virus. Now normal life can resume. But we are in a situation where the rate of contamination keeps rising. The death rate keeps rising. Not only in Cameroon, in other African countries, the world at large, apart from China that seems to have a stable kind of infection rate as of now, the rest of the world, we are still grappling with the virus. So when you tell the people, Trump announced that America will soon reopen its economy to normal life, gradually. Other African countries have been announcing the same thing.
France, yesterday, actually, the Prime Minister said by May 11th, they are hoping to uplift the lockdown, provided...
Correct. That is the word. Hoping to ease the lockdown. It has been the same thing in South Africa. Man has been, we have not been used to this kind of tied down kind of life. And people have been suffering when you ask them to remain in the house for the whole day, the whole week. It becomes boring. And people is kind of rebelling to this lockdown. It is not convincing because we have not handled the situation. So we should not talk of lifting the lockdown. We should be talking of we have arrived at the peak of the virus. We are already the other side of the graph, going down when it comes to infection. And then when we talk of lifting the lockdown, it will be convincing. But as of now, I don't share the opinion that it is convincing to ease the lockdown. Lockdown should instead be tightened. Lockdown should instead be, implementation rate should instead be should be added, because the virus keeps gaining ground. So let's not talk of easing it now down. It is not convincing because we have not handled the virus as of now, Vanessa.
All right, Madina, coming to our Cameroonian context, schools have been shut, bars are being asked to close as from 6 p.m. And you are of the fact that yes, there is something that government can do before lifting the lockdown. What are the things they can do if they haven't done enough yet already?
I think in Cameroon, for example, there has been no lockdown. Before we will be expecting any lifting or any sort of lifting. It's true that in some municipalities, markets are being temporarily closed on particular days. For example, we have Douala 2 that had been using some Fridays as their own lockdown, and Douala 3 as well. So they don't open the market today in the name of disinfecting the area and come back the following day just to see that the place has been kept clean. Some tables have been destroyed or put aside by the guys from the urban council and all the like. But then if we should say that a lockdown was implemented here indirectly, meaning it is through those type of acts that we were seeing, for example, in the Douala 2 and Douala 3 markets, the Dakar, the Marché Central and all the stuffs. But what about the other municipalities? What about the other areas? They haven't done so. It's just on Friday that Douala 4 tried to disinfect their mosque because the Ramadan had already begun. Nevertheless, I don't think it has been done in Douala 5 or Douala 6 as well. Even Douala 1, we have the Chinese markets in Aqua Nothing has been done there yet. And we find most shops that are closed.
All right, but then we are talking about that there is something that government needs to do to uplift this lockdown. What are the things that you could suggest as your viewpoint to the government to do?
To uplift the lockdown, I think government needs to see into it that people are not infected, first of all. If I am not telling them to behave like Senegal just did by going door to door and
conducting mass testing.
Tests. But there is another way they could do so. The public health minister recently said they were sending their agents to the field to question some of the citizens. But I was surprised that nobody came in my neighborhood. I don't even know how that started and how it ended. I don't know if it has ended already. If these guys were serious, I think we would have detected other cases. But nothing has been done right up to this level. I think if the government needs to uplift the lockdown, that time has not yet reached.
Right.
It has not yet reached because there is still panic out there. Many people are not doing their businesses as it is supposed to be for some time now.
No.
Many people, if you go out, you see that the streets are dry. But the government has not said there is lockdown. It's just that some citizens take upon themselves to say, okay, I should just stay home and confine myself. But if the government has to uplift the ban, they should restart. They should begin everything.
What of our schools and colleges that are settled to resume from the 1st of June?
For the schools, the teachers and the school authorities need to take a test.
All right.
Because one never knows.
Okay.
Your child might leave the house and start school on the 1st of June, if at all the situation has been brought down. And the next day you just find your child having some funny symptoms. You don't know how that managed. Maybe it might have been from the teacher or one of the school authorities. So they need to go around all of these schools, disinfect the areas, go into the classes as well, because the virus started when some people were already in the country. But they had to restrict entries into the country when it was already too late.
When it was already too late.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Subiru Martina, for your point. Mangavenashus, she talks of mass testing, and you have the fact that there are lots more measures that government can do before bringing or easing the lockdown.
Yes, Vanessa, when I said when we are talking about easing the lockdown, it is not even convincing. Because if the government is talking of things returning to normal, we are looking at the 1st of June, when schools should begin. The question we are asking is, what happened during the lockdown that is no more happening now that we think of? I think the government should carry out, because like she said, if we do carry out this issue of door-to-door testing, mass testing, I think that we are going to get the real situation of, because for now, I cannot think that the government of Cameroon can pretend to have the real situation on the ground. Like she said, there was something on the news here that they are going to carry out mass testing in the city of Douala. In my own neighborhood too, I've never heard of it. I've never even seen anybody that talks about mass testing. So if we have to carry out that, we will see that the number that we have in Cameroon is more than what the official figure tells us. So from every indication, the government should be serious. Let us respect the lockdown rules. If there is something we can borrow from China, it is this lockdown principle. If there is something we can borrow from foreign countries, it is this lockdown principle. I know our economy may not be as that robust to withstand the shock, the effect of lockdown as it is. But I think when it comes to the cost of life, it is far more than that. South Africa went into the same thing. Now, South Africa is gradually releasing some of the issues because there was serious lockdown. When we talk of serious lockdown, it doesn't mean that the markets should be open and closed in the evening. The virus does not only spread in the evening. It does not mean that bars you can drink in off license and in the evening you close.